Now we get into tracking your diet. Now this is a topic that may or may not be necessary for some patients after bariatric surgery, but I think it's at least something important to look at and consider. What I mean by tracking your diet, obviously the most important things to track are your fluid intake. Try to get your 60 ounces of fluids, your hydrating fluids in on a regular basis. Always aim for your protein goal as best you can. Always try to get your fiber in. All of this takes time to be able to reach these goals. Those three elements are always important. What I'm referring to is logging your food in some sort of calorie counting app or food tracking app to see what are you taking in. And there's different things that you can look at. The first thing obviously is calories. You can track your diet in popular apps like MyFitnessPal, Lose It, Noom, or whatever food tracking app you want to use, but those are probably the top three most common ones. Number one, you can look at the calories. How many calories are you taking in? For most bariatric patients, they're not consuming enough calories within their first 6 months. We're trying to get everyone to at least 1,000 calories, hopefully by the end of their first year. The average bariatric diet for women ranges somewhere in the realm of 900 to 1,200 calories, and then for men, somewhere in the realm of 1,000 to 1,600 calories. But even still, that may not be enough depending on how much physical activity a person is doing and things like that. So it's just important for you to know, how much are you taking in? Are you being accurate with what you're logging? Are you making sure that you're being accurate with your portion size? Most people will underestimate their food intake, so make sure that you are being accurate, or as accurate as possible. You also have to know that these apps are rough estimations. I don't think that there's any exact way to know exactly how many calories you're taking in, but this is a rough estimation and can be valuable information for your bariatric team in helping you in the months following your bariatric surgery, especially once you get beyond the first year. The second thing you would want to look at is what sort of macro distribution are you taking in? In the beginning, 50% of your calories are mostly coming from protein-rich foods. But we want to make sure that patients know that over time, it's not just about protein. You need to make sure to consume healthy fats and complex carbohydrates. And so what you should see over time is a more even distribution of these macronutrients. Most of the food tracking apps will provide some sort of a pie chart letting you know that 50% or 30% of your calories are coming from protein, fat, or carbohydrate. And over time, you want to move towards a 33% of each nutrient group. And that will take some time. As the months roll along after that, you might see a little bit more allowance, maybe a 40 to 45% allowance from complex carbohydrate. Again, I'm referring to fruits, beans, healthy starches such as sweet potatoes or winter squash, and non-starchy vegetables. Those are the kind of carbohydrates we are referring to, not empty carbohydrates from chips and pastas and crackers. You might have a little bit larger distribution from carbohydrates in the long run once you get closer to 18 months or thereafter, and then maybe more like a 20 to 25% protein, and then maybe a 30 to 40% fat intake. But everybody's different, and this is what having visits with your bariatric team is going to help you with. If you know what you're taking in, the dietitian that you're seeing will know where the adjustment can be made. Some people do very, very well and feel great with a very high protein intake and very minimal or somewhat low carb diet, even towards the end of their first year. And their weight loss is great and they feel great. Some people really start to have issues with feeling more hungry. Their appetite is improving. That's a good thing. We just want to make sure to allow the right kind of fuel into the tank, if you will. We want to make sure that the right type of calories is going in, and that's where allowing a little bit more complex carbohydrate can be helpful. Some people will hit a weight loss stall, and sometimes just making an adjustment in your macronutrient distribution can help switch things up a bit. That's what we mean by tracking the diet. Know what you're taking in. The other benefit to tracking your diet is if you log a particular meal, and maybe tracking everything you eat every single day isn't realistic, but if you track a particular meal and you find out that that particular meal has so much protein in it and so much fiber in it, and it's just a really good meal to have, you know that, okay, that definitely is something that I want to return to. And then maybe you log another meal and it's like, wow, that was way too much empty calories on that one. There was like no protein and there was no fiber, and gosh, what did I eat? Oh, it was chips and queso, you know? So you want to know what you're getting out of your food as far as macros go, as far as fiber goes. And if you just maybe log a meal at a time, you can put a plan together for yourself and repeat those days or repeat those meals that you know were good for you and met your goals. The last thing about tracking is it's a good way to stay accountable. Some people find that if they log their food and they see it, what they've taken in, it kind of helps them to know that, you know what, I am doing well, or you know, wow, I can see how going out, you know, for dinner that one night really switched things up for me. It is some level of accountability. The problem and the downside to tracking is it's very time consuming, and that's why I suggest maybe making sure just to log several, you know, meals a week so that you don't burn yourself out on it and you're aware of what meals are best for you.